Hello, everyone. How are you? I feel like it's been such a long time. I feel like I haven't talked to you guys in a while. It actually feels like forever. How has everyone been? I'm so happy to be here today and super excited about our guest today. Um, it is her 20th anniversary, and we thought we should bring the queen back on. So I am going to look for her real quick. Um, Send her an invite. Oh, there she is. Okay. Crossing fingers. Wow, so many people on this morning. Hello!
Hi, Zosie. So nice to see you.
It's so nice to finally see you too. We spoke on the phone and I told you I can't wait to see you. You haven't aged at all. And you
Yeah,
said to
20 years,
me,
darling.
and you said to me, no, 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 you'll see tomorrow when you speak to me. Well, I see you and I still stand by my truth. You look amazing. Happy 20-year anniversary.
Thank you so much. Thank you. I tell you, sometimes it just goes by in a flash of an eye. So
Really
watch
does.
out. Time flies.
Well, I still have about 20 years to go. But you're so iconic. We could have never even forgotten you if we tried. So how has it been? Like 20 years now, here you are. How was that journey for you?
I've been very often asked that when I did my final
Mm.
question and answer round during my year as Miss Universe, that answer is sort of, I think, revolutionized in a lot of ways the way the pageant was also kind of perceived for young women. And at that point
Mhm.
of time, I genuinely had no experience with what it would be like to be Miss Universe because I hadn't won
Yes.
as yet. But I still remember that I genuinely, truly thought that, that would really be an opportunity for me as a woman from the part of the world that I came from,
Mm.
to really forge ahead in whatever choice it is that I chose to sort of follow, whatever career that it
Yeah.
is that I chose to follow. And I can't tell you how true that rings 20 years later.
20
It
years
is,
later.
it's an amazing gift from the universe to,
Yeah,
sort of hold that title, which you'll see. I mean, you've just started, and I know you've had a pretty challenging time of it
yes,
already, but
I
you
have.
have a couple of months to go, and you'll really see. I think it was definitely one of the biggest highlights of my life. I've
Mhm.
never ever felt as amazing as I did as that 1 year as Miss Universe.
Of course, speaking about 20 years later when you did it and your expectations and what you did with it after, do you think pageants still look the same? Does the face of pageantry look the same? What it stands for? Do you think it's the same? Is there any change at all?
Well, for sure. I think over the last 7 years, within the Miss India organization itself,
Mhm.
I've been had the opportunity of mentoring some of the girls that we've sent up to represent India at Miss Universe. So I know that the parameters itself are tremendously different from what they stood at 20 years ago when we won. But that said, I have to say that when I won, I had extremely big shoes to fill because I had the absolutely exquisite Wendy Fitzwilliams, who was Miss
Ah,
Universe from Trinidad and Tobago in
she's amazing.
1998, iconic. And then you had Impule Kwalahobe from Botswana, who
Yes,
crowned me. So
yes.
just these incredible women who today are even more relevant, if not, as much as they were when they won. And
Mm.
I think so that the Miss Universe pageant has always had a profile where the women that have won have always been far beyond just what they look like and what, beauty sort of epitomizes in its conventional sense. And as you know, Susie, that we've always been used as advocates, and very aggressively so in the various different causes that we've had the chance to sort of propagate and be part of. So I think that that's changed a hell of a lot as well over the last couple of years. You can see it with all of you girls who've won, with Catriona, with Demi, with you. Wonderful young ladies that are very well spoken, that are passionate about what they want to do, that have really, really strong voices and are unafraid to use them. And I think today that is what it really stands for young women around the world. It's no longer just the color of your skin or,
Mm.
how your hair looks like or what your statistics and your size and your measurements are, but it's really about how strong a voice you have. And I think that's what's really fantastic.
Yeah, I love that you touched on that, because when we watched how the pageant used to be, they used to have your height, you know, your waist, your
Yes.
everything right there on the side of the screen. I guess just to emphasize how at the time that was important
Right.
for points or whatnot, which is absolutely, you know, not the truth now, because we don't have that on screen, and we don't think that's what they're looking for, because you can just see the diversity of the women that come in who have, you know, so much to offer with their voices. Not to say that you didn't. You also had so much to offer, because you went on and did so much incredible work with, you know, being a goodwill ambassador with UNICEF. And I know, just like me, which I was so excited to speak to you about, you believe so much in gender equality, which is something that I stand for. And it's something that you've been advocating for a very long time, for almost 20 years now. And when I usually speak to people at the United Nations or do my research, they always tell me, you know, Zozi, we have about 100 and odd years before we can bridge that gap between all genders. Is this something that was happening during your time? Did they also tell you about this 100 years? Do you think it has evolved, or do we have a better chance of equalizing it between the genders?
You know, I think for us, honestly, as you come in, you kind of wonder initially, also because we were very young. I was only 22 years old when I was a Goodwill Ambassador with the United Nations.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, you haven't seen very much of life still. You have all your life ahead of you. So you sort of tend to wonder whether you really will make a difference, whether,
Yes.
you know, you really will kind of bring about that change. Will you be part of it? And I spent 14 years as a Goodwill Ambassador with the UNFPA. And I'll tell you that every little bit counts. So every single voice counts. And especially for the opportunities that we're given, for the position that we're put in. I mean, I was so tremendously honored and humbled to be the voice of countless faceless women, especially within my country. You know, voices that will never be heard, never be reached unless they have somebody, a spokesperson, that's taking that voice and amplifying it for them. So every little bit counts. I mean, I've worked on some incredible campaigns with gender equality within India itself, because we had a very large gender ratio difference between the number of boys and girls within this country. Also, a very large, high number of female infanticide. You know, so we worked on, you know, propagating and pushing for an act in our country called the PCP-NDT Act, which forbids now the disclosure of the sex of the child until the child is born, so that if it is a female fetus, that it has a chance to actually survive and live. You know, and today now that is a law in this country. So every little thing goes a long way. And, you know, it's just, I genuinely believe that, you know, you should tread as gently as you can on the planet, but honestly leave a footprint that will leave a mark for at least 1,000 years. So
Absolutely.
challenging to do, but is the way to live.
I'm so happy to hear about the progress in India, and really just hoping that it's a progress that will happen in so many more countries as well. We know that with what's been happening with COVID-19, the number of gender-based, you know, violence cases have really shot up. I don't know if that's something that's happening in India as well. I think
It's
I saw
across the globe.
yeah, I saw a post that you put up and you were speaking about it. How is it looking now? And what was that post about? Are you working with people towards, you know, putting out a message of ensuring the safety of women?
So for me, over the last 20 years, Rosie, I've lent my voice and, you know, whatever sort of abilities that I've been able to bring to the front on a lot of women empowerment, you know, campaigns and issues. So this is something that's really ongoing. And like you said, you know, domestic violence is a huge issue. Not just, I think it's not limited to any particular country or any particular demographic, but literally, you know, is a problem that exists across the world. And I've always felt for the longest time, I have a couple of years experience up on you, but I feel that, you know, that for the longest time ever, women honestly have been each other's worst enemies. You know, also because opportunity in the world for women was so less, and such few opportunities that existed, that you kind of women tend to do, you know, sort of claw each other out of the way to go after the few opportunities that were there. But if you see over the last 2 or 3 years across the globe, that's changed so much, with so many women actually speaking up on various different issues, whether it's violence, domestic violence, whether it's pay disparity, whether it's inclusion, the Me Too campaign. So you finally have a moment that's happening in the world right now where women have found their voice, and there are more women sort of banding together and speaking up. And because of that, you're also creating more opportunities for women. So you no longer have to nudge each other out of the way to get ahead in the race. You actually can take your sisters along with you. And I definitely believe that apart from just speaking up about issues like this, there needs to be a really, really strong support system within every country to address these issues. And that has to come from multiple levels, not just a few NGOs that work towards it, but it also has to come from laws within legislature, within our own governments. So there's a lot of work to be done, and it has to be systematic. It has to come from grassroots level. And I saw one of the interviews that you did as well with one of the guests that you had on domestic abuse. Yes. So this is really not something that you can turn. I mean, there's so much going on in the world right now, and everybody's consumed with, anxiety and fear and panic, and people have been in lockdown. And so COVID-19 has, pretty much consumed everybody's waking thought. But in the midst of these kind of, very, very important issues get lost, and we can't allow that to happen. So these are things that really need to be addressed. And like you said, I posted a visual. So a visual representation, I've always found, is one of the most powerful forms of really getting a point across.
Yeah, absolutely agree. And I love that you say that, because it's still so wild to me that we have to prove that we need more women at the table, because there can be so many more women at the table. It just doesn't have to be one of us, because we don't all think the same way. We don't all do things the same way. And so that's why it's so important to have and see that representation there. And like you said, not only to speak on it, but to actually push governments to actually implement it in every country, to make sure that we are truly giving women the space to actually lead. And I love that you've been doing that work for like 14 to 20 years now, and passing on that baton to women like me to actually do it, so that we too can in turn in our time pass it on to other women as well.
For
so
sure,
I think that's incredible. Yeah, I want to go back to something that you spoke about when I asked you about your journey, where you spoke about conventional beauty, and you said something on beauty, and I want to go back into the beauty space, because you have a beauty range that I'm always stalking you, because I was like, oh, this is interesting. And it made me think about something, because I'm somebody who reads a lot and I watch a lot of documentaries, because I'm just curious about the world. I want to find out. And I remember coming across this documentary that was taken in India about women and beauty, and they spoke about the skin bleaching and lightening industry being $1 billion industry, not only in India but Asia, as a whole. And I remember watching this and thinking, this is so interesting. And I'm so happy to be talking to you today, someone who is, an Indian Asian woman who also happens to have a beauty line. How serious is that issue in India today? Is it something that's still happening? Is the skin bleaching industry still big? And I know when we spoke and I did research on your product, and I know that you don't have any of skin lightening in the product. How important was it for you to make sure that there's no skin lightening in your product?
So, we've spoken about how beauty in itself the concept of beauty has evolved over the last, and will constantly keep evolving. And I think for me, when I started off with my skincare line, it's called Arise. It really was born from a space where, after having spent almost 25 years in the business and then living in India for most of my life, we have, access to the best products across the world in India, and you have every brand that's here. But we don't really, I found that there was a big gap in the market, that there wasn't any really one comprehensive skincare brand that really addressed issues primarily for Indian skin, because obviously our genetic makeup is different. Our skin ages differently. When I've had the opportunity of being in the beauty business from my teens to my 20s, my 30s, now my 40s. So I know how your skin ages through each decade, and then your needs are completely different, right? So I never found anything in India that really sort of addressed all of those issues across the board. And therefore, came the birth of an idea to create a skincare line that really addressed Indian skin per se, that was affordable for women, so you weren't breaking your bank balance in order to go out and take care of your skin. So it was affordable, it was effective, and it was essentially for women that belong to this demographic region. And one of the things, like you said, the grass is always greener on the other side. And I've seen it, now that I've traveled the world many times over, this part of the world, we want our skin to be lighter and whiter and fairer. And then when you go to the other side of the world, everybody's lying out in the sun all summer, looking like lobsters, rather than the women that they think that they're going to look like and, want to look like. So it's always, we're never going to be happy, right? But over here in this part of the world, it goes a little bit more deeper and more sinister than that, because people are so obsessed with light and fair skin, and that's attributed to their idea or their concept of what they consider beautiful. That has been something that India has battled for many years and many generations. And I don't think that this will ever go away in its entirety, but I think more and more sort of women that come out from this part of the world that have dusky skin, that are darker in complexion, myself included. You have Priyanka Chopra, who is Miss World from India. You have Frida Pinto, you have Nandita Das, who's a world acclaimed, director and actress herself. It's gorgeous looking women who are, I'm going to include myself in that, but I'm just throwing that in there, but I'm just saying, but women who are so accomplished, who've done, so much, regardless of what their skin color is. And I think that really sends out really strong messages. So yes, within Arias, I was very clear that we didn't want to have products that promised you skin whitening and lightening and things like that, because that's not my concept of beauty. So though we sort of reorganized our parameters and we are a brand that's vegetarian and paraben free and sulfate free, those are the good things that I like standing for. But it's a massive industry. It's a huge business. It's $1 billion industry that's fueled by a lot of multinational companies that spend a lot of money to market these kind of products within this part of the region of the world. And, it's going to take some strong sort of activism and advocacy to really bring that to, I wouldn't say, I don't think we'll ever be able to eradicate it. I know it sounds negative, but I think just to bring it to a neutral standing is going to take a while longer.
Yeah, but I think you've already started the groundwork. You mentioned yourself and all these other incredible women, because I remember watching this documentary and actually having a conversation with you yesterday on the phone when you said, when a child is born, the first question they want to know is the child fair-skinned or is the child
male or female first?
Male or female.
Male or female first. And secondly, if it's female, fair or dark?
Female, is she fair or dark-skinned? And I think the mere fact that you're there, being the successful woman that you are, with a more brown skin, with more other women in there who are showing, young women and older women as well, that it's okay to be whatever skin complexion that you're born in, and that truly it's not really about how you look most of the time on the outside, but what you have to offer to the world, and that we are beautiful regardless of what we look like, what our skin tone is, what the shape of our body is. And it's just sending out a very strong message. I know you said it's not something that's going to end today, but surely, with time, if women like you keep surfacing up and just being yourselves and being the successful women you are, then I think we're on the right path. We're definitely on the right path.
No, I definitely think so, Zosie. And I'll tell you this. I know that as Miss Universes, we're given, plenty of opportunity to really wax eloquent on a lot of different causes. And a lot of us are very strong speakers, and we have that going for us. But I promise you, I'll tell you this from experience, that actions speak louder than words. So there's one thing, you need to walk the talk. So regardless of what you do in your life during that 1 year, the remaining of your life is still yours to lead. And it's the way that you choose to lead it, what you choose to stand for. And you literally have to do that you have to walk the talk. And that makes all the difference, especially with the younger generation, with kids. Trust me, I know I have an 8-year-old and she never does as she's told. She does as she sees, so she's just, that is exactly the way that it is, that you need to lead by example.
Yeah, she does. I love that. I actually put out a post for my mom on Mother's Day, and I said, I am who I am because you were who you are first, not only by the things that you said to me, but everything that you embodied in your own self the way that you acted and the way that you did things makes me, you know, the person that I am today. So definitely actions will always be louder than words. But I wanna go back to another part of your life, because you're such an interesting person. You have all these things going on for you. And I'm so embarrassed to say this, but I will actually say it, that the first time that I actually saw you or knew of you was through Bollywood. And in South Africa, they used to like play Bollywood movies on a channel called SABC3 every Sunday at 2 p.m. And I remember it used to run from 2 p.m. to 5, because they used to run for long. And I remember seeing you there for the first time and thinking, oh my God, she's so incredible, she's talented, she's beautiful. And then found out later that actually you were a Miss Universe. And this is obviously like years ago. I must have been like 13, 14 or something when I found that out. And I wanted to know, did you always know you would go that route? Were you an actress before coming into Miss Universe, or is it something that you fell in love with after and you were like, I've always wanted to do this craft?
I actually never ever had any plans to be a movie star or be a movie actress ever. So I did theater since I was about 12 or 13, and I knew that I absolutely loved that, but it was amateur theater. And then of course Miss Universe happened when I was 21. I spent 21, 22 in New York and came back to India. And when you come back after winning something like Miss Universe, there are very, very few avenues that allow you the same kind of, you know, glamour and that entire outlook that you had for that 1 year. One of them is politics, and the other is the movie business in India. So I knew that I definitely wasn't joining politics when I was 23 years old. There was no way.
Yeah.
So the other very natural, you know, sort of thing to go into was to be an actor. And I think I got very, very lucky, because when I started off, the debut film that I had was, you know, with a very well established production house, and of course it ended up doing well. It was with one of India's biggest male movie stars at that time, so all of that kind of clicked into place. So to be really honest, Zozi, I never really planned you know, my life out in any great detail. I kind of literally went with the flow, and the universe was very, very kind to me. So my life, I've literally been one of those people that have sort of bent in the wind wherever it kind of went.
I love that. Because people usually ask me as well, like, so what's in the future? What are you going to do? And sometimes I'm like, it's okay not to know. Of course, know. It's okay to plan and to have goals. It's very important to plan.
Yes.
But sometimes you just have to leave space for life to happen, because sometimes life happens.
And I promise you, there's so much magic that if you don't leave space for the magic, you will miss the bus. So you've got to be ready. You've got to work really hard at it when the opportunity presents itself. But you've got to leave space for magic in your life. It's wonderful.
I agree. So where to now for Lara? I mean, it seems like you've done everything. So like, where to now? What other mountain are you wanting to conquer now?
Well, over the last couple of years, I mean, obviously now with Arise being launched, and we've also built on the brand from there. We've just, you know, within this time that everybody's facing within the skincare line, we've also brought out an entire line of sanitizers and sanitizing gels, and then we've worked with NGOs to make sure that these products are sort of more available to marginalized sections of society that don't really have access to sanitizers and things like that now, so we can actually do our bit to keep everybody safe. You know, so we're constantly building on the brand. I'm also a producer, so I produce content both for film and for the digital space, both within India and internationally. I'm very, very excited about being an actor at this time. It's a very exciting time within India as well, because we've had the advent of a lot of digital platforms that have come in. So the quality of writing, the writing for women especially, is far superior than it's been in the last couple of years. So finally, in my 40s, I'm getting the opportunity to be the actor that I always thought or imagined that, you know, those are the kind of roles that I'd like to do. And I just played a cop for the very first time on screen in my career.
How was that?
I debuted on the web. And it did pretty good for us in a show called 100. So yeah, it's an extremely exciting time. So I have my hands full. I'm going to bring in a little monkey. She's been very excited. She's been waiting since she knew that I was actually going to be talking to you. She wants to see who the reigning Miss Universe is.
Please bring her in. I would love that.
Hi.
Hi.
How are you? Oh my God, so pretty.
Zozie, that's
Thank
Syra.
Hi, Sarah.
Oh,
You
that's
are
so
so
sweet.
beautiful. How are you?
Thank you. I'm good.
Do you know that your mom is like famous, famous? Do you know that?
Yes.
She's like,
Does
she
that,
is.
yeah, does that get you many friends at school?
Not really.
She said,
A couple.
well, if I was you, I would tell everyone at school that my mom is super, super famous and that she was Miss Universe and that she is an actress and that she is a businesswoman and she is amazing. And you will
So
turn
the
out to
lovely
be like your
story,
mom.
the lovely story behind the name Arias is that it's Syra spelled backwards. So it was basically
Oh
my
my
way of keeping her
God.
close to me regardless of what I did. So
Oh, that is
yeah.
so adorable. I didn't even realize that, but that is so beautiful. That is so beautiful. So
Great.
lovely
Do you
to
want to tell
meet
Zosie
you.
what you did in school?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes, please tell me.
Today I learned that yesterday was Africa Day.
Yes, it was. Did you?
And what was it?
It
What does it mean that it's
was.
Africa Day? What does it mean?
It's the day the continent of Africa got its freedom.
Yes! Oh my God! It's when we all came together and we were like, we are such an amazing continent and we have so much to give to the world, and we just celebrated each other. And I think that it's beautiful that you learned about that. And I hope you come to South Africa one day and I get to show you what South Africa looks like. Will you call me when you're in South Africa?
Yes.
Okay.
She said, I don't know, you're a stranger.
Okay. That's all.
Thank you so much. So lovely to meet you. Oh, she's so sweet.
She's been so excited all day. Mom, is she really going to be there? Is she the real one? The one in your office?
Is she the real one? She's like, you're like not the real one. Is she the real one? I love that so much. I love that this is how we're wrapping that up. It made me so warm inside, and I'm sure everyone else appreciated seeing it. And I'm sure that she's going to grow to be an amazing woman because you are an amazing woman. So thank you so much for all of that, for all that you do. And do you have any final? I know nothing will ever beat what just happened now. But do you have any final words for the people who are listening, during this time? Because people really need, upliftment. And I know they're always waiting to hear from their queens.
No, I just think, Zosie, firstly, for you, I just wanted to say, after we got off the phone yesterday, there are a few of us. I think how many now? Like maybe about 70 odd Miss Universes, I think, possibly in the world, if I'm not wrong. I think somewhere around that number. And, I think for you, I know, like I said, you've had a really challenging time of your reign already this far. But I also think that you are in an extremely unique position to leave a legacy quite different from any of the other Miss Universes, that have come before you, have had the opportunity to leave. And, sometimes you have to look at silver linings. And I think though this year has been a year that most people want to erase from their memories, and sort of reset the clocks, I think that, you are in an incredible opportunity and an incredible place to really rewrite what it means to be a pageant winner or a title holder or a beauty queen, in the world at a time like this. And I think that that's a footprint that you will leave that will be, a legacy for girls that come after you to follow. So I'm sure, I know from the little that I know of you and what I've seen of you, you're an incredible, very, very accomplished young woman. And
Thank
I'm
you so
sure
much.
that in this time that you will figure out how it is that you want to create that legacy and that you will leave it. I'm sure of that. And for people that are at home, this is something that's impacted the entire world. We're all in this together. For the first time, I feel that everybody, regardless of whatever other issues we might have in our countries, that for the first time we're kind of plugged into the same energy source where our number one concern or fear in our life right now is universal. It's pretty much the same, but it also gives us a sense of how connected we really therefore are, on this planet as human beings, regardless of borders or color or genetic makeup, and I brought Syra in today. I normally don't put her on things, but I brought her in because maybe as a Miss Universe, I offer a little slightly different perspective from the other guests that you have on, from the fact and the side that I'm actually a mom as well now. And I know that our children have had the hardest time of actually living through a period where through most countries they've pretty much been completely enclosed in a closed space in their homes. And a lot of times I know that Syra said to me, Mom, do we really deserve it? I've spent 3 months without going to school, without seeing my friends. Why did it have to be us? And I think that's a question that for us as adults that we really need to ask ourselves. Does it really need to be the generations that are going to come after? And what is it that we can change? What is it that we can do now when we exit from this or emerge from this that we will do differently for them? So I lost a friend to COVID-19 in early March. He actually passed away in New Jersey. And he was gone in about 13 days from being an absolutely healthy individual with a family and, having dreams of his own to just not being alive anymore on the planet. But it, for me, was a big, huge wake-up call because we were going into our lockdown in India here in Mumbai right about the same time. And it really gave me, time to contemplate and think that I'm going to stop waiting for this to end or to get out of this or to emerge from this in order to resume life or to start living life. That life really is every single minute that you have now. Things that you're grateful for, the health of your family, the love of your family, the ability to be able to be here with them. And, so that's it. Life is right now. You've got to just grab it by the horns and be grateful and live it and be truly amazed to be alive and so grateful for that. So, yeah.
Wow. I'm not even going to say anything after that because I don't want to ruin it. That was so perfect and like the most beautiful thing I've heard in such a long, long time. Thank you so much for your time and your wisdom and just everything that you stand for and just being here today and speaking to everyone and talking to me too. It's such an absolute honor and it's a conversation that I will remember and that I will carry with me for such a very long time. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Zosie. God bless. I hope you have an incredible reign.
Thank you so much. God bless you too and good luck with all your future endeavors. I know that you will do amazing.
Thank you. Thanks, Dutta.
Thank you so much, Lara. Bye.
Thanks.
Sure, guys. I don't know if you just watched that or if you just joined us, but that was such a powerful live. And I think the most important thing that we can take away from the conversation with Lara is to know that this is a pause. We are at a pause in our lives where we need to self-introspect and we need to look out into the world and see the kind of people that we want to be when this comes to an end. When the whole world opens, I think we should all exit it and become different people and better versions than who we are. So we need to sit down, look into ourselves and look at what we can do to help, always try to be the solution and not the problem. And yeah, I think that was the biggest lesson I learned today, to look at this as a time to work, to put in the work so that when this ends, we are better people for it. Thank you so much for joining me today. I'm looking forward to see who we will be speaking to next and to share with you guys who we will be speaking to next. So please stay tuned every Tuesday and Thursday. Don't forget to keep sending us your stories, what you're getting up to. We love catching up with you too. #Universe United. Thank you so much for joining us. I will see you this coming Thursday. Bye.